Never have enough time to play it all. You know everybody wants to walk in someone else's shoes. Everyone's forgotten who they are. Such a grind.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Otter Creek in Rio Grande. I'm going to get started on another work video here, and I'm going to concentrate on the area here, trying to get what's going to take place on the backside of the mine. I know there's going to be at least one or two retaining walls. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. And concerning the mine, I mentioned in the previous update that I was going to allow myself inaccuracies with the mine. And YouTube is one of those things. I turn that camera on and I start talking. Sometimes I really have no idea what I'm going to say next. So I want to clarify that comment a little bit. I plan on doing this as accurately as I can in the space that I have, and in a way that maybe puts a little more precedence in what it looks like over how it would have functioned. I'm still going to try and make it believable in how it would have worked. I just don't know where I'm at on that at the moment. So kind of enough of me talking here, and I'm going to get started doing some things and figuring some things out. One of the first things that I'm going to try and kind of work on is the foam and the plate here. I would like all of this to be on the plate, which means doing a little adjusting of the track. And I also, don't like the distance here. Now, I could absolutely live with that distance. I would just prefer the whole thing, to move back there, a half inch to an inch. So I think that's going to be the first thing I do. it's starting to come together, and I want to touch again on, I don't know, maybe the concept of prototype fidelity versus scene composition. So as I'm viewing this complex right now, it's at least the mid 1930s. I may go as late as maybe the peak of the war era, sometime between 41 and 45, something like that. So, you know, electricity would have been available, but this is kind of a remote location. So I'm thinking that there is a boiler in this building that produces electricity through a dynamo. And the shaft house has an electric winch. So, you know, kind of looking at the scene, what's missing as far as that goes is I will need a water tower of some sort for sure somewhere. I'm thinking maybe right here, or maybe even on the backside of the building here. I'm also missing, if I can find it, I've got to have some kind of ore bin that we can load the ore into. So this thing here, that's going to have to get adjusted accordingly for some ore bin structure. The last things I'm going to need is some kind of, you know, power poles. You know, how did I get the electricity from inside here where the dynamo is to inside the shaft house? So that's what I'm thinking is how this thing would have worked. And I will do a little more research if I find out something is grossly inaccurate about my thoughts on that, and it doesn't disrupt the moving of the buildings too much, then I may take appropriate actions to correct what might need to be corrected. So as far as other parts of the scene, you'll notice right in here, there's a gap, and that will be taken care of with this. And you can see I've already got the other one of these. If you'll remember back from a few videos ago, these were test pieces, and I really didn't think that I was going to use them at all anywhere, but they work great for the inside of the tunnel, I guess, even though I really don't want a tunnel. That just slides in there just like that. And the idea is I'm wanting to impose the idea of a tunnel somewhere right in here that can't be seen. And maybe even if you look down this way, if I have to, I might come up with another rock ledge right here, because it's going to be a natural tunnel, you know, natural rock tunnel that they just blew out of the mountain, more so than a wooden tunnel portal. What I'm wanting to do, if it works out right, is kind of have a viewing window right through here that you can see this. Of course, I'm going to have to carve away that in such a way that all of this looks like natural rock. And, you know, from this angle, you can't see the tunnel portal because, you know, of your view at the point of angle you're looking at. And then from the other direction, you move the camera, you know, if you're looking down this way, you'd have to hang your head, you know, way over the scene, you know, to about here before you could see it. So that's what I'm going to try and do there. Now, if it wasn't obvious, what I'm trying to do here is I've got this plate, whatever you want to call it. It should be able to come in and out. I'll just need to cut the tracks here and here, and work out a way, either have electricity going to this, and I maybe don't need rail joiners if you do it right, maybe, or just a way that the rail joiner can come all the way one direction or the other to make the connection. And then this can come out, and so if I'm careful about where I glue the foam, this piece, gets glued to, you probably can't see it, but there's a piece right here that this one butts up against. And this piece butts up against my plate. So if this gets glued in, the whole thing should be able to just come in and out, and I just need to be careful what I do back here to keep that where it is, and then my scenery will, if I make whatever scenery is here not attached to this, then I should be able to hide that this is a plate at all. I don't know if that's the right terminology. But that's where I'm at right now, and I think I'm at a good place where I can start doing a little bit of carving and kind of pulling things together a little tighter than they are now. After looking at the scene through here, I decided that, no longer than it would take to go ahead and create something that looks like a natural rock or earth tunnel. And I'm kind of glad I did. I think it worked out pretty good. Now still, this is not going to be seen unless you really try and see it by hanging your head over the track. Let's take a look at the other side. This is an alternate viewing angle, and you can see I tried my hardest to kind of match what was going on up here with what is going on the inside here. Of course, I'll have to come in here with Sculpt-A-Mold and kind of fill in the gaps, but I think that's going to work. I want to show another angle here real quick. This is the viewing angle that I talked about, where I wanted a window in here where you can kind of see what's going on. And, you know, my thought is starting somewhere around here is I would like this to taper down, you know, in a nice gentle slope, about as even a slope downward as I can come up with. So you can also see the track standing here, because, you know, I'm another 8-10 inches higher than the camera viewing angle is, and I can just barely see the track. So by taking that down 3/4 of an inch, somewhere between here and the end, I should reveal all of the track. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. You know, now you have to imagine some trees and shrubberies and other things where this window, I think, will narrow up some. At least that's the plan now. In the future, we'll figure that out as we move forward. Now we're down to the last thing that I wanted to accomplish this weekend, and that's figuring out some landforms in here. I know that this spot over here, somewhere between here and there, either the whole thing or part of it is going to be the retaining wall. I have a retaining wall from Michael McCarville. I don't recall how big it is. I'm going to have to get that out and take a look at it. But for sure, I think I can finish up this spot in here with something that's not going to be a retaining wall. So I'm going to get started doing that, and I'll be satisfied with what I've done this weekend for sure. You can see I've pulled everything out, just, you know, in case someone skipped forward to this point and doesn't really realize what I did. But, you know, I've got this to where the plate can completely come out, and I've got just a little bit of an overhang in a few places here that the landforms will slide in and underneath. Now, all the places that are smooth and flat still are kind of still under development. I'm pretty sure the water tower is going to go here. I mentioned earlier that somewhere through here, I'm thinking a higher retaining wall and a lower retaining wall. And then, this eventually will probably be, fill of some kind. And then this, I'm thinking that my road, that comes from that way needs to have a terminal point, and that may be right here. I'm not sure yet. So I'm not intentionally not doing anything with this until I kind of have a better idea of what I want. So let me throw these pieces in so you can kind of see how it all works. The track is not glued yet, of course. So that's the gist, and somewhere right in here will be the ore bin. So I'm not sure where this is going to go yet, but this is what I'm thinking right now. This is pretty much set. I ended up having to push it back a little bit further, so. Now, because I've left this foam and it's, it's 3/4 inch, I still have room to manipulate things here. So, where would we park a string of cars? Where would the ore bin be? Do I foul the turnout that's up there with more than 3 cars or whatever? Those are the kinds of things that I'm not overly concerned about, if that makes sense. How many cars I can put in here, is kind of arbitrary, so long as it looks like it could have worked like it should have worked. So I'm thinking the ore bin will be somewhere right in here. And if I have to get rid of this loading dock, maybe there wouldn't have been a loading dock there. I don't know. We'll see how all that goes. In the meantime, I think the only thing I have left to do this year, before I'm out of this year, is I'm going to mock up something for the ore bin that'll give me a better idea of what's going on here in the space. And then I also want to take a look at how extensive the retaining walls are going to be. And if I can get those two things finished and have this scene ready for sculpt-to-mold paint, then that's probably going to be the first thing I do with the large layout in 2026. I think this will be the first group of structures that I build, and I'll probably start those sometime in January, because I would like to finish. I'd like this to be my first finished scene on the larger layout. So thanks for watching the Otter Creek and Rio Grande, and we will see you around sometime in the near future.